Hey Scorpios, how y'all doing? Welcome. We're going to be doing your March general reading. So, your meditation, interestingly cryptic it was. Listen, I'm going to take you through exactly what I saw. I was taken to the middle of a forest and I saw the frog prints, honey, in frog formation. A frog sitting on a rock with a crown on its head, and I saw the frog prints. So I'm sitting there in meditation. I'm looking at this frog prince and I'm waiting for something else to happen. I'm like, okay, what? Okay, frog prince, got it. What else? What else? What else? Right? Nothing. Just this frog prince. And this sort of like emanating green. It was like a heartbeat, like da-da, 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 green emanating, which makes sense. Green is the color of the heart chakra. But don't you know, I had to go on my phone and look up the moral of the story of the frog prince because I was like, what is happening with this? I don't even know a lot about the frog prince. And apparently the moral of that story is to keep your promises. I feel like for you guys, this has a lot more to do with keeping your promises to yourself. Let's see what comes up. I don't want to spend too much time psychoanalyzing that very brief image. I want to get to the cards, interestingly enough. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on, Scorpio. Is it frog prince realness? Okay, cool. Very good. So we have the Phoenix here. I love this because you guys are the Phoenixes, right? You guys are associated with Phoenix energy. So this is cool too because this is the sign of spirit coming up here, which for me in animal energy form equates to kind of like a major arcana. Although furthermore, the Phoenix is also related to Six of Swords energy for me, which is the most positive sword key in that sequence, right? In that suit, in my opinion. So the Six of Swords is about that beautiful inner peace, that mental relief, right? It's a mental relief after previous mental tension or confusion or analysis paralysis or tension or any of that stuff, right? This is like, right? Tony Braxton, breathe again. That's Phoenix, like Six of Swords energy, right? But what's cool about this in this context with you guys is this is the rising, right? This is the product of the pain that is transformation. Because transformation is, the frog prince. We're going to figure this out together, apparently. The frog prince was transformed by a kiss from a princess, Princess Tiana, right? He's transformed from a prince in human form into a frog and then kissed to transform back into his human form. And then we have the Phoenix, which is about transformation from one state of being to another. Interesting. It's like mystery power hour here. We're going to figure this out. Interesting. So you know how in Harry Potter, how many sentences have I started like that in this reading, like in these readings? You know in Harry Potter, or you know how in Lord of the Rings? So in Harry Potter, Dumbledore has that, I almost said pet phoenix, but I don't even feel like that's fair, has that familiar, right, of the phoenix. I can't remember what it was called. Leave a comment below if you know the name of Dumbledore's phoenix. Interestingly enough, had that phoenix that would come whenever someone was loyal to Dumbledore in thought, word, or action, right? So it's like when someone stands up for Dumbledore, whenever someone shows Dumbledore loyalty, that's when the phoenix appears to their aid and comes to that person's aid. And we were talking about how the moral of the frog prince is about keeping your word, which is also a form of, honesty, loyalty, right? Interesting. Ooh, let's see what's going on, Scorpio. What is happening? Animal medicine-wise, frogs are also about detoxification, emotional and or physical detoxification. Did you see that? It was like, oh, but of course. So we have the Five of Swords here. So traditionally speaking, Five of Swords is either yourself or other people around you, an element of your given circumstances that is outside of one's integrity, right? Shady business, right? Not keeping their word. Interesting. This is deception, right? This is someone being willing to step on whoever they need to step on to get where they're going and acquire what they want. Interesting. How we have a, a theme here of keeping your word and the importance of that, loyalty. And then the first key we have out for you is about deception and being outside of one's integrity. Interesting. Remember how I said this equates to the 6 of Swords and then we have the 5 of Swords here? Interesting. Also interesting that this is coming up in the primary first position. Also this element, which is past energy coming in that may or may not affect the present, right? Also this desert energy of this as well when we have the Phoenix with the heat and the fire of transformation, right? Interesting. Scorpio, what's going on, please? What's going on, please? Hello. 10 of Swords. Endings. You have 3 swords here. Big endings. Complete full stop endings, right? This is the completion. There is no revival. 10 of Swords. Interesting. Because this is definitely a sword going through a pigeon heart. And then we have the Phoenix. Rising again, reborn. Transformative. 6 of Swords style. Interesting. Is this London? Okay. So pigeon medicine is very much about messages. What you're here to say, receiving messages, or having your message be known and heard. I keep going back to this aspect of keeping your word and being true to your word and the truth. Right? Knight of Pentacles. So this feels like a little bit of a schizophrenic energy, but I'm rolling with it, don't you know? Tea in hand. Knight of Pentacles is the slowest moving knight in the deck, right? Takes his time getting to where he's going, but once he gets there, he's not going anywhere. This is about showing the same patience and perseverance to a work project or aspect of yourself or potential opportunity, right? Where you're investing in its, growth possibility, right? Isn't this weird? I was coming up from this hole in the ground, and then we have the Phoenix rising from the ashes, and then the bird soaring above the 10 of Swords, which was its ending. There is a significant shift happening for you, okay? I don't know if you noticed, but there is a significant shift happening for you. But it's cool. Because I feel like this Phoenix aspect is this overall tone to everything. And I feel like there is a part of you that is either coming to terms with either willingly, or it's going to be, in a series of tower moments that come in and orchestrate this for you within your highest and best good, but of course. But there are aspects that want to be removed. This could be ways of thinking or modus operandi with you or people around you. But I keep hearing it. There's a cleansing effect that wants to take place. Okay? Cleansing effect. Yeah. So we have the Magician here to clarify the 5 of Swords. Interesting. Back to the Frog Prince and the kissing and turning from one state of being into another. It's really interesting, right? Because that has to do with magic. This 5 of Swords here, going back to the fact that this is about people acting outside of their integrity or not telling the truth, or right? And then we have the Magician here, which is a transformer of all energies, right? Honestly, I feel like you're being asked to really look at how you see things and re-examine your filtration system. how you perceive things. Do you believe in the worst case scenario? Are you a worst case scenario thinker? Very human, by the way. But if that's going on, you're being asked to sort of transform that. Do you kind of think of, you know, oh, it's probably going to go this way, or oh, I wasn't expecting it to happen like that anyway, right? Is that your modus operandi, and is that born from trying in an effort to protect yourself from pain, loss, disappointment, right? You're being asked to re-examine that. Why am I seeing the game of Operation? Did any of you guys used to play that, where you go in, you try to get the body parts and go "Brr," if you hit the wrong spot? I feel like you're being asked to engage in a, you know, game or active operation within for yourself. About how, can you observe your thoughts? Because again, with the Six of Swords, this is about your mind, right? Okay. This is a lot of swords. We have Ace of Swords here for the 10 of Swords, right? This is big clarity, big realization, big communication, right? What's interesting here is that these are in order, in reverse. So this is the beginning of the sword suit, right? And this is the end. So from an ending heralds a new beginning. But I feel like this big realization and this big, you know, everything that is wrapped up in this Phoenix energy, your sword is your truth and your truth is your word. What is it? What is it? Why do I feel like this is a quest for the truth, and I'm hearing the truth will set you free? There's something to do with this. Then this is going to be a whole lot of different shades for different folks, right? Because we also have the Ace of Swords can represent writing something, writing down the truth or sharing your truth with others or whatever have you, right? But here we have a full stop ending, and the Phoenix has to die before it can rise again. So there's an element of communication or realization that comes on the tail end or as a result of a full stop ending of a cycle or perspective or relationship, right? Oh, interesting. So in The Frog and the Prince, that takes place in New Orleans, I believe, takes place in New Orleans. When I think New Orleans, by the way, personal note, my favorite city that I've ever been to. It's my like home away from home city. I love New Orleans deeply. But the New Orleans landscape has a lot to do with not just the supernatural, but death. They kind of use it as like a, you know, means of tourism dollar as well, right? With the skulls and the, you know, the voodoo and the all of this stuff, right? Baron Samedi, all of that imagery, right? So that's very Scorpio energy as well. So it's interesting that they're bringing this up in terms of the Frog Prince and the keeping your word and transformation, right? What is that saying? You have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince? Wow. So we have the Emperor here with the Knight of Pentacles. So the Emperor is that wonderful Aries energy, right? This is that sort of, there is a comforting aspect to this where it's like everything is exactly as it's meant to be when the Emperor is running the show, right? The shadow side of the Emperor is that he feels like things need to be a certain way, right? There's no black or white, or no, it is all black and white. There's no gray with the Emperor, right? Which can be restrictive and limited as well, right? But I feel like the overall message of this is that you're moving into a time and experience that is only able to come to fruition if you allow to die what wants to die. If you allow certain endings to take place. Again, this could be within you and or around you, right? But I do want to ask you, I feel like this has a lot to do with you. I feel the call to ask you, like, how honest are you being with yourself around something or some things, right? How honest are you being with yourself? Does this have to do with the past? Are you remembering things how they were? Is it through rose-colored glasses? Or on the flip side, are you remembering it as worse than it actually was, right? With this Five of Swords. There's something about realigning your perspective and getting honest about the reality of something. Because with all of this sword energy here, and then the two major arcanas you have are the Magician and the Emperor. Those are two very masculine energies, right? Which are about taking charge and being in control and being in an active form of manifestation. Then you have the Knight of Pentacles here, right? Which is also another masculine energy. Then you have the Ten of Swords, masculine energy there with the stabbing through the heart. And then the penetration, you know? And then you have the Ace of Swords here. It's very, very masculine, right? Very, very masculine. You know, I keep hearing, let die what wants to die. This is about the opposite of clinging on to things that want to end, so that, you know, what good can come from it can be recycled and born anew in some other creation, incarnation format, right? You know, I'm also hearing a message about taking time getting to where you're going, because I am getting a special message around children. Children, fertility, family, younger family members, your relationship with your inner child. There is something about children and the family scape that comes into being considered here. You know, I want to say to you, be patient and kind and considerate with yourself in relationship to where you are and where you are not. If you are in a point in your life where you're not where you thought you would be at this point when you were younger, right? I'm hearing to really release any and all expectations around any of that. I'm hearing the comparison is the thief of joy, right? And to just really acknowledge and focus on the potential of what is yet to come from where you are in any given moment. But there is this feeling of this sort of like this resistance to letting certain things die or end or transform as a result. What are you holding on to? Where is the pleasure in the holding on to these things that want to die or be released? Because it feels like you're holding onto the sharp edge of a sword and it's cutting you. What is this? Is this a relationship that wants to end but you won't let go, and it's you're being injured as a result by holding on to it? Like it's a sharp sword? Is it an aspect of yourself in your past that you're unwilling to let go of because if you're not the story that you tell yourself, who are you? What is this, right? There's an aspect of that. You know, I'm hearing, what is your personal mission statement? What is your personal mission statement? Because it's interesting that I had to look up the moral of the story to the, what is that, the Frog Prince, right? It's interesting. What is your mission statement? As a person, what is your mission statement? And I'm wording that very specifically for a reason, right? It's not about what you want or what you want to be or what you want to manifest. That's all good and well, but this feels like a different cookie. This feels like we are in Nocturne Alley, honey. This is a different situation, which is all good, right? I'm you know, stepping into this energy with you. So when I say, what is your mission statement, right? What are you here to do? Let's look at it in Scorpio terms. Let's go with the Phoenix. Let's go with the Ten of Swords. If you were to die tomorrow, how would you feel about your time on Earth? What would you feel like you would have done more of, done less of? What would you wish you would have done differently? Do you feel like you left your piece of the world better than how you found it? You are being asked to consider, especially because the Phoenix has to die before it can rise again, right? If you were to die tomorrow, how would you feel about your life thus far, right? That is a very important question. And I do not feel like there's an obvious answer to it either. I don't feel like it's like a yes or no, or like a, I'd feel good, or I'd feel like crap. Like really be with that and consider it, and then allow that to inform your mission statement, right? You know, some therapists will do this as a exercise as well in therapy, where they have patients write their obituaries, right? It can be very illuminating. And I'm really hearing that with you, and I'm really drawn to the fact that it's a Ten of Swords and an Ace of Swords, so I'm getting obituary with the writing about the end of life. I feel like that could be a very illuminating exercise for you, especially because we have the Hawk here, which is about clear sight and vision, right? About seeing that bigger picture and also the finer points and details of something, right? But I'm also hearing to really examine your story. You know how they say that history is written from the perspective of the victors? There's something in that for you. And I say this with all the love in the world, my beautiful, darling Scorpios. If you are the narrator of your own story, which you are, obviously, as you are, I should say, the narrator of your own story, what is your POV as your own narrator? What is your point of view? Is your story a tragedy? Be honest with yourself. And there's no right or wrong, by the way. Live, live, live. Doesn't matter, right? But awareness. Is your story a tragedy thus far? When you look back, is it a tragedy? Is it a tragicomedy? Is it so tragic it's funny, in other words? Is it a straight comedy? Is it a romance? Is it an adventure? Is it a black comedy? Etc., etc., etc. Is it historical fiction? I don't know. But I'm getting that the more clear you are, this feels about your relationship to your story. And it feels like it is going to dictate your relationship to the next chapter of your story. Right? If the phoenix resisted dying, it would stay in this old, brittle, weak formation forever. But it's the release, it's the letting go, it's the allowance that and giving into the death that allows it to rise again in full formation and 100% strength, right? At the end of it, the feeling of this is that you have a potential path before you, right? That is rooted, that wants to carry over aspects of your past, right? Your childhood, how you perceive things. Because I'm really drawn to this Ankh, right? Egypt, right? This emperor is holding. It wants to incorporate what is useful from that, like recycling, like the phoenix, right? Like recycling. It wants to recycle and reuse and repurpose aspects of your past, lessons that you've learned that are helpful, that you might want to pass on to your children or just bring on into the future in some other context, right? But it also wants you to release and leave behind and kill off that which belongs in the past, right? Okay, I'm seeing something. There is a book that I recommend ad nauseum, and it's been coming up a lot in this round of readings. The book is Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkolas Estes, who's a clinical psychologist, I believe is her title. I could be wrong about that, but that is her line of work, and that is psychology and the mind, and all of that is coming up for you in this context. So she writes in her book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, and I highly recommend it. And she writes about, so when people would die, right, in certain cultures, they would, wherever they died, right, like let's say they died on the side of a road, they would put up a little cross to mark this is where their journey ended. This is where their journey ended and their new journey began on the other side, the spirit side, whatever, right? So she talks about an exercise that she will have some of her patients do, where they really sit down and create a map of their past. And they mark down where a journey ended and another one began. Those turning points in your life, those major points of transformation, right? Marking them down on a life map so that you can go back and give really homage to each of those points in history, right? For example, your first heartbreak, your first, loss of a loved one, when your parent died, when, whatever happened, right? You were in an accident, it changed this, whatever that was. Really returning to those points in time, right? Giving them, you can give them whatever you want, but as long as you look at them and give them a bit of attention and go, I see you, I recognize that this happened, thank you, and so it is, whatever that is for you. And the point of that exercise, as she puts it, is you just you do that with intention, right? You write this down. You look at these little crosses, these crossroads, these changing points, these moments of transformation in your life. and you acknowledge them so that you can then release them and let them stay in the past and move on so that they don't affect you subconsciously. Because a lot of these, we can also call them like traumatic moments, right? These points in our life, they can affect us subconsciously if we don't take the time or make the effort or are brave enough to consciously face them and release them. And that's what I'm getting for you. To do this life map exercise, as she puts it, so brilliantly puts it. Because I feel like on the other side of this release, this Five of Swords, this allowing yourself to, look at, honor, and then release that, right? Energy, release the pain, release the betrayal, release the disappointment, release the death, release the loss, release the anger, the envy, the resentment, all of that, right? Which, by the way, is not unique to Scorpios. This is just what's coming up in your formation tree this time, right? Everybody has experiences with this, right? But you're being asked to release that, and from that comes, big clarity again with the writing here, and that maybe this is the doing the life map exercise and everything else. But it's about taking it to that point where you are acknowledging it purposefully, so you can also purposefully and mindfully release it. But you must acknowledge it first and then release it. These major transformation points. Why? Why do it? Why bother? Knight of Pentacles and the Emperor. This is a new direction ahead where it's a life full of happy expectation and fulfillment. I feel like this Ankh here, because these little crosses, what made me think of it, the crosses that, Clarissa Pinkola Estes speaks of. These little crosses where people would mark the place where someone's journey ended, right? I feel like this is the Emperor. This is you hanging on to the aspects of those ended journeys. This is all of those accumulated into a piece of gold, which acts as his foundation that helps him to move forward. Doesn't hold him back, but helps propel him into his future. See where I'm going with this? And I feel like part of the future here is this, next generation, right? And then we have the Knight of Pentacles here, which is a very happy and free energy as well, right? This speaks of a new path ahead that has beautiful long-term potential, that is free of all of this swords energy, right? I'm also very cognizant of the fact there's nary a cup present. The only cup I see is on the Magician's table. But we're talking about these emotional crossroads point. It's all coming up as swords. Why would that be? Why is that? Because we're not looking at emotional healing here. We're looking at releasing the benefit that comes of releasing those mental demons, and then also revisiting those and allowing ourselves to find a clearer perspective and clarity around it. Revisit the past, reconsider how it happened and how you see it. Is there something there that could use revisiting and go, oh, I'm glad I took the time to do this life map, because now I see things a little bit differently. I've been holding on to this. Maybe I'm remembering it differently. Maybe I co-created that, because let me let you in on something. We co-create everything. How did I co-create these past life change moments? How did that lead me, right, to this and that and the other thing that was a lot more in alignment with where I wanted to be? Create your life map. I feel like it is in a way Marie Kondoing a lot of this stuff from your mental, mind palace, as it were, to make room for a lot more secure, secure state of mind, happy state of mind, transformation, and new potential moving forward. Okay? I will say, Scorpio, this feels advanced. This does not feel like I'm talking to younger souls or, that haven't been here many times. It's no, this is asking you to do the work of a life map and going back and writing down and looking at your past moments of big change and transformation where one journey ended and another one began, so that you can pay them homage and then release them and move forward. That is some work, honey. It's going to require a lot of patience and kindness and self-care, right? Although I feel like for some of you guys, it may be a lot more simple than that. It's just going to be person-specific, right? But at the end of the day, this is what you're being aligned for. And you can go about this in whatever way that this works. But in the base case, if doing your own life map doesn't resonate or appeal to you, but you're like, yeah, this feels like it's for me anyway, you can find your own version of how to get to this place of the Emperor and the Knight of Pentacles, which is a new path ahead that has happy potential for long-term effects and happiness and stability and groundedness and prosperity, right? This is beautiful. Scorpio, I'm sending you all of the love in the world. I so hope that this helped and resonated. Remember, on the other side of this good work is mental freedom, which is so beautiful. Please let me know if this helped and resonated in the comments below, because I love reading your comments so much. And as always, just thank you so much for being here. But most of all, thank you for being you. And be well. Until next time.